What if I told you that for athletes, what you see on the field is such a small fraction of what their life really looks like? Most of us know that, but we still wonder, what does their life look like? What is practice like? What is preparation like? And what is life after athletics like? We're joined by former NFL running back Andrea Williams to talk about his journey through football, what life lessons he's learned from it, and what he's up to today. That's all coming up right here, right now. I'm Sam Chen, and this is Face the Issues. Good evening and welcome to Face the Issues. I'm Sam Chen. All of us understand that what we see on the TV screen is only a small fraction of what reality is. This is true with TV shows, this is true with movies, and of course it's true with athletics. What we see on the field or on a court is a small fraction of what an athlete really goes through. But what if you had an opportunity to pull back that curtain, understand what the journey is like and what athletes do after their retirement? We have that treat today as we welcome Andrea Williams, former NFL running back, to the show. Andre, welcome to Face the Issues.
Thank you for having me, Sam. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. And so our viewers have your bio. You're a retired NFL running back. You play for the Giants and the Chargers. You played at Boston College collegiately. You were an All-American, the Doak Walker Award winner, and the finalist in both for the Heisman Trophy and the Walter Camp Trophy. You're a fitness trainer today, among many other things. You have your own business. Let's just jump into your journey. You know, everybody knows you as this NFL running back, right? It kind of becomes your persona as an athlete. That's whether you get introduced, it's probably the first thing people say. Take me back to childhood. What was it like growing up? Were you always interested in sports? Was it always football? I know you played some other sports growing up as well. And like, what was it like growing up?
So I definitely always had an affinity for the running back specifically. I loved watching running backs. My older brother actually is the one that inspired me to play football. But when I was 2 years old, I had an accident where I got hit by a car. Wow. So I was out shopping in Plainfield, New Jersey with my mom. My brother was holding my hand, and I was kind of like, I was playing hide and seek. So I jerk away from him and run up the street and go hide behind something. And, you know, one time I actually darted into the road and I got hit by a car. And it was like this hit and run situation. And like the way that they described the situation is kind of funny. They're like, you know, you flew into the air and you rolled under this car, and there was somebody that had to go and lift the car so they could pull you out from under the car. And, you know, my heart had stopped when I got hit by the car, and they had to, you know, use the paddles and resuscitate me. And my mom says I'm a miracle baby because the doctors told her, you know, he's got this head trauma, like I had the white meat hanging out my head, and they're like, you know, when he wakes up, you know, he might not be the same. But I actually, it wasn't like, I remember the day that I got hit by the car. I remember seeing the red helicopter land in this school field, and I was on the stretcher strapped down. So I remember the day, and I remember waking up that night. I remember a lot of things, and my mom says, you know, you actually got released the next day because you were running around the hospital again. So I always did love to run, and when I discovered football, I always did love, you know, just that running back position. And, you know, my mom, she was scared to let me play at first. Sure. And, you know, then, you know, my older brother was playing, my little brother was playing. I'm like, Mom, you gotta let me play football. And finally, I guess that was 6th grade was my first year that I was able to play. And then she kind of like backstepped and said I couldn't play 7th grade. And then I started playing again in 8th grade. So that was the beginning of it.
I know you hear a lot of commentators today or coaches today say, I mean, when you're growing up, I know you ran track as well then in high school. You know, when I was growing up, you played every sport under the sun, right? You played season of baseball, season of soccer, season of all these different sports. Eventually, if you want to go on, you find the one or two that you're really good at or you really love. Yeah. But more and more you hear coaches say, no, if you want a college scholarship, if you want to play Division I, you better know your sport when you're 6. When you're 7. You've got kids of yourself now. You didn't really start playing football till 6th grade, and you took 7th grade off. Yeah. How do you deal with it with your kids? Like, what do you tell parents? Do they need to be locked in that early, or should they kind of try and play the field, so to speak?
I think that the child is ultimately going to decide what it is that they want to do. So, I don't know what child is locked in at 6 or 7 and what they really want to do. I think that they should try everything, and there is a couple reasons for that. One is because there are skills in one sport that is going to overlap and help you in another sport. You need that hand-eye coordination that you might find playing baseball that would help you be a better receiver for football. So I think it's good to get a little bit of a mix, and then the pace of the game is different. The dynamics of the game is different with each sport. You got to see what you really like. I know that's something else that we're going to talk about is like, what you see happening in the game is totally different than the preparation and everything that goes into it the week before, so you have to experience everything.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic advice. So you started playing 6th grade, you played through middle school, high school. Now you moved around a bit too. Yeah. And so in that time, I know you played for at least 2 different high schools. What was it like moving while you're a young guy, while you're a student, and while you're a teammate?
It was very nerve-wracking for me. When you get into high school and you realize how it works and what you're supposed to do to get to where you want to go as far as, playing Division I, you kind of gotta stick around so that people can continue to see you can develop in the place that you're in. Colleges have people that are going to scout certain areas, so in my mind, I'm like, man, I'm going to get lost in the sauce. These scouts that are coming to see me this year, they're not going to see me next year. What's going to happen? But at the end of the day, it comes down to what you do on the field. And if you can perform on the field and you're in a place where they're playing good football or playing good baseball or whatever, and you can win and you can make a difference on your team, it's on film. You're not going to get lost, So it was hard. I went from Georgia. I was at Harrison High School in Kennesaw, and then I came up to Parkland my junior year. And it was a little bit of a different flavor, but it was the same meal. Football is football.
Yeah, and I think that's just such a good insight of you control what you can control. And I'm sure it wasn't your decision to move. But that's out of your control. So you went and controlled what you could control. That was your game. I love that insight that you have, especially at that young age. You eventually get recruited by a few schools. You choose Boston College. Yeah. Why Boston College? You're being recruited by SEC schools and across the board.
Yeah, I had Vanderbilt was on the board too. Rutgers. There was a handful of pretty good schools, but I picked Boston College because I love the conference. I love the ACC, being able to move up and down the coast and play schools like Florida State and Clemson. That was very attractive to me. I knew that going to BC was, that was no joke. I was going to get a good degree, and I wanted to be able to stay a little bit close to home, let my parents have the ability to come and check me out if they wanted to. So I took my first official visit, and BC checked off a couple boxes. I'm like, all right, this is a place where I know I could come in and play early, and they look like they work pretty hard. Let's do it, And I kind of move like that sometimes. I feel a conviction, and I just go for it, and I put it out of my mind and move forward.
And what did you study at BC?
I was applied psychology and human development.
So the smarts in the classroom and on the football field.
Yeah, it was the only degree that BC offered to where I was going to be able to graduate a semester early. So I was kind of playing a long game where I said, you know what, I don't want to have to come back to school and get my degree after the fact, so let me get it before I leave. Yeah. And so I was able to graduate a semester early with that degree.
One of the things that happened to you at Boston College is coaching changes. And again, you said with your high school moving, obviously when you moved to high schools, you switched coaches. Mm-hmm. You said you talked about the idea that things that were out of your control, again, the coaching change at Boston College, out of your control. How do you adjust to something like that? Again, I think, it's easy to look back on it, when you're grown in your 30s or whatever, and look back and go, okay, these are some life lessons we learned, but you're late teens, early 20s when this stuff happens.
Yeah.
How do you adjust to that?
So when I was at BC, we went through, I think it had to be like 3 head coaches. There was 5 offensive coordinators. It was just constant change. And, you know, that's something that you just come to understand. Even when we first got there, the strength and conditioning coach said, look to your left and look to your right. You know, 2 people that you came in with are not going to be here when you leave. And he was 100% right. It was like 25% of the people they went someplace else or they didn't make it, you know. And that's true with the team, and it's true with the coaching staff as well. But you just have to, it's the same thing. Like, I came in knowing that I wanted to go and play pro ball, and I have an opportunity to do it here regardless of what's going to happen. And there are moments where you just have to make a decision and say, I am who I think I am, and I'm not going to change my mind. You know, I'm here for a reason. And
no matter what else is happening around you.
No matter what else is happening around you. And if you let what it looks like change your perspective, you're going to end up failing.
I think that's fantastic advice. Andrea, we're going to go to break. When we come back, I want to talk about your senior season at BC, highly successful season, what it was like transition to NFL, and then what you're up to now.
Awesome.
Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Face the Issues is produced and recorded in the studios of Lighthouse TV. Positively different. Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. You can view our in-house studio productions on demand, or watch what's on the station right now with our 24/7 live stream. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device, or go to our website for more information. Visit lighthousetv.org to stay connected. There you can find out what's currently on the air and coming up, how to watch in your area on cable, satellite, broadcast, or streaming devices. Watch past programs or our live stream. Follow us on social media and learn more about the station, our hosts, and our programming. Lighthouse TV, positively different.
Welcome back to Face the Issues. Andrea, let's just pick up where we left off, talking about your time at BC. I love the advice that you get and the perspective that you have on, really just doubling down on who you are. And if you've got goals and dreams, you stay focused on that, and everything around you can't control, just let it be noise. Yeah. Love that advice. It pays off for you. Your senior year is explosive at BC. That's the year, I believe, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, that's the year you win the Doak Walker Award. Yeah, you're a Heisman Trophy finalist. You're a Walter Camp finalist. You're a unanimous All-American pick. What was that like senior year? I mean, 4 years of hard work, and all of a sudden and not that you had bad seasons before that, but just this explosive season senior year. Yeah. Was there a lot of doubts going into that with new coaches and so forth? And what was that like going through that year?
Honestly, I think that there was the least amount of doubt was that senior year, despite everything that was going on. I remember, that spring season, you get into spring ball and you're practicing, and you're going into the summer. We didn't leave over the summer either. We were there all the time. And so I had a friend of mine, call him Juice Daniels, Steve Daniels. He played linebacker. He's a couple years younger than me. And he's like, Dre, after that practice, man, I know that you're about to skip for a stack this year. You're going to do it. And I looked at him and I said, Steve, I gotta go for a stack. I have to. And then he's like, with that kind of determination, man, you might run for 2,000. I said, Steve, I have to. And it was like we were making a pact right there that this is what the year was going to look like. And we brought that to practice every day. And everybody felt that, And then we had Coach Adazio come in, and there was some things going on with Coach Adazio, but we had a good coaching staff overall. Mm-hmm. And so the head coach over at Ohio State was our offensive coordinator at the time. And Coach Day, me and him had a lot of conversations that year where he's like, yo, I know that you are the horse that we're going to ride into this season, so I hope you're ready. And I said, I'm ready, Coach. Go ahead and ride. And, you know, we just, from there, once everybody was bought in and we knew what the game plan was, we just went ahead and we won some games. We didn't win every game, but even in the loss, you know, we lost to the national champs that year, which was Florida State. Jameis Winston was the quarterback at that time. And we still put up 150 yards on the ground against the national champions, you know. So even in the loss, like we just looked like the best power run game in the country.
That's incredible. Yeah. You said something just now, Andre, that you and your buddy had this conversation, and then you brought that kind of determination to practice. I think we started off the show saying there's so much about athletics that as we watch it, we see on the field, and we don't see what happens behind the scenes. Everyone remembers that famous Allen Iverson interview. Practice? This is just practice. And yet you hear athletes talk about how important it is to bring that determination to practice. The legendary basketball coach Bob Knight used to say, everybody has the will to win, but it's the will to prepare that makes a difference. What's it like, and how hard is it to bring that kind of determination to practice when nobody's watching?
You know, the practice is one thing. What happens outside of practice is another thing. And really, there has to be, in every situation, you can have as good of a practice as you want to, but things are still going to go wrong. You know, it's two teams and they each have a will, and you're trying to break the other person's will. In order to do that, you need some kind of leadership. You know, you can have the best schemes, you could have the best players, but without proper leadership at the coaching level and at the player level, it's really hard to win, you know? So that was something that I learned at BC. You know, I got in a position where I was able to be the leader, you know, and I took that very seriously, and we did what we could. And then, you know, moving on to the pros, there's another situation you're thrown into another team, but it doesn't change. There still has to be some kind of leadership that is going to guide that practice, not just so that you can have a good practice, but that you can overcome adversity. Sure. That's what the leader is there for.
Sure. Let me ask you about that transition to the NFL. I mean, we see so many incredibly talented collegiate athletes that don't do well in the NFL, and then we see people like Tom Brady that were, 6th round draft picks that go on to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, if not the greatest. What translates from college to pro? What did you find was really your big takeaways, and what was maybe overhyped?
Everybody that is there at that pro level is meant to be there. You know, everybody is really on the same level physically. Mentally is a totally different story, you know, and that's why a leader is necessary, because it's an emotional game. It is a game of momentum. How can you snatch the momentum and hold on to it, because you can ride that to a win. The other thing that I saw that was very different is, with everybody being on that same level, everybody has something that is unique about them. You know, I met Johnny Manziel at the Heisman. He was up for his second year, actually, and he had won it the year before, and he was up again.
First freshman, I think, to win it. If not first, one of the few freshmen to win it.
He deserved it. He used his unique ability to do things that made people look at him, and you know, how he was always running around with the ball like that. I'm like, how can he hold the ball like that? Yo, his hands are like twice as big as mine. He's got these giant hands, you know? And every player in the league, they have something that is a little bit unique about them, you know? But as far as the speed and agility and the strength and all that, everybody's pretty even, but there's something unique. For me, what I found out was that, like, for my size, I'm a big running back, but my bones are really heavy. So it's easy for me to knock people over. And so I used that to my advantage. I ran hard because I knew if I get the right elevation and speed and I get under you, you're gonna be on your back, you know. So that was what I figured out, is that all right, these are not just good athletes; they're a little freaky. You know, everybody's got something going on. Yeah.
Andre, it's often said that we all know, successful people know what they're good at, but they also know what they're bad at. And what's that like as an athlete? Are there certain things, I mean, you talked about your size and Johnny Manziel's hand size and things like that. Are there other aspects that you go, okay, that's not my game. I don't have that ability as a quarterback or a running back or whatever it might be. And so I adjust to not do the things I'm bad at. How aware do you have to become of those things?
It's very easy to have that perspective at the college level. Like, I ran for 2,177 yards. Like, it was a ridiculous amount of yards, but I had 0 receptions that senior year, you know? So I didn't have to catch the ball because I was running, you know? But then transitioning to the pros, they don't care about that. You got to fit into a system, and you know, you pray that you fall into a system that works for you.
Sure.
You know, maybe if I had been a Tennessee Titan, you know, it would have been a little bit of a different developmental game for me, because you know, some teams, they're looking to win right now. Some teams are like, all right, this is our team. This player here needs a little bit of development. We're gonna go ahead and see how we could work with him. So. I had to overcome that. You know, I come into the room and we have Eli Manning, one of the most, you know, prolific quarterbacks of all time. We have Odell Beckham Jr., who is, you know, going to be that year one of the biggest names in the game. And then there's me with 0 receptions. So how am I going to go ahead and figure out how to fit in? You know what I'm saying? That is part of the mental game that you have to overcome. But everything is there for you to work on those things that are missing, and it's up to you to go ahead and put in time.
You play for the Giants, you play for the Chargers, you deal with injury. I mean, you've dealt, we talked about the moving in high school, the coaching changes in college, you've dealt with injury, you've been waived, you've been added from rosters, you've been, you know, activated, and then you get activated, you get injured. How do you deal with adversity?
You just have to wake up and say, I'm breathing today. I have another opportunity to go ahead and do everything that I said that I wanted to do. You know, there really is no dead end. It's all about perspective. You don't lose until you quit. So if you don't quit, you don't lose. You just have to figure out how to get over that obstacle. So I did go through a lot of adversity during my time in the league, but that's the name of the game, you know. And it's a war of attrition. Some people they fall off physically. Some people they fall off mentally and emotionally, you know. But if you can stay strong and survive, then you're going to be the one, you know.
I think that's fantastic advice, and you've obviously brought that into your life today. We're going to cut the break. When we come back, I want to ask you about what you're doing with everything you've learned now in your life. Awesome. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. You can view our in-house studio productions on demand, or watch what's on the station right now with our 24/7 live stream. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device, or go to our website lighthousetv.org for more information. Lighthouse TV, positively different.
Welcome back to Face the Issues. Andre, thanks again for joining us today. Appreciate you sharing your story and all these nuggets of wisdom that you've learned through football. Today, you're retired from the NFL and you're a fitness trainer. And you're coaching athletes, I think, high school level athletes.
Yes.
Tell me about what you're doing and why did you decide to do that?
So my rookie season in the NFL, I had some shoulder issues. I had a torn labrum and my shoulder would sublux. I'd hit people and the bone would go in and out of the socket, the joint. And I was losing plays over it. So just, you know, trying to figure out what can be done. I ended up meeting this guy and he tells me, he said, you know, if I can fix anything going on in your body, you break your brain, I can't fix that, but anything below the neck is easy. And he kept saying, it's easy, it's easy. So I said, well, what do I got to do to work with you? It's the off season right now. And he said, well, if you want it, if you're excited about it, I'm more excited and I'll come pick you up. So he would come pick me up, and we'd go over to the Quest Diagnostics Training Center, and we'd work out for a couple hours. And we did this for 23 days straight. And after 23 days, I never had another problem with my shoulder. So I fixed a torn labrum just through exercise and nutrition. So it revolutionized my thinking in the way exercise works, the body works. And, you know, I got addicted to that way of training. I stopped really lifting weights after that and just did this stuff that he taught me. And I studied under him for 4 years and was able to, you know, understand as a whole what that practice was about and how it worked. And so, you know, I created my own fitness regimen that I want to give back to kids. And so that's just my motivation. Is I know that I have something that is unique and highly valuable, and I want to see what would happen if somebody, I was older when I ran into it. What would happen if you give it to a young guy, and are they going to be able to win with it and take it further than I did?
Yeah. I love what you just said. They take it further than you did. This notion, leaders always, their ceiling is they hope is the next generation's floor. Yeah. What do you hope to see these young men and women do?
I want to see them dominate in their sport. I want to see them rise to the top. I want to see them become leaders, because I know what athletics did for me. I know the lessons that it taught me and what good it was able to bring into my life. I always say that, you know, the athlete and just that the person that can be the pinnacle. You know, people always want to see who is the best of, who is the greatest, who's the top of. We're obsessed with that. And, you know, it's cool because when you think about athletics and what it really means, two teams that come together, they have a fight, they have a disagreement, somebody wins, somebody loses, and in the end, they still end up shaking hands and say, I'll see you next week. You know, society should work that way. Oh, isn't that great? You know, that's why I think that athletics is the best, because it teaches us how we should be with each other. It doesn't have to be a situation where, oh, you know, we have a disagreement and we can't be friends anymore. Yeah. You know.
Wow. And so you're teaching so much more than just the physical, but the leadership and the mental preparation for that. Yes. Love that you're doing that. If we got someone watching today that's a young high school athlete or their kids are, and they want to help and join in and get help coached by you, how can they do that?
So I always want to have a consultation and personally talk to a person before I take anything from them, so that they know what they're getting into. My Instagram, there is a calendar. You click on the calendar and you can go ahead. It's DreWill44 is my Instagram, so you can join my calendar like that and we can have a consultation. It's free. Or I have a website at sportsfactorylv.com, and you will find my link on there as well.
That's fantastic. Andre, thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your story and your experiences. Yeah. I really, really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me, Sam. I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. That is our show for this evening. My thanks to Andre Williams for joining us, for sharing his life experiences, and for all the investing in other lives that he's doing today. Of course, my thanks to each of you for tuning in, and we hope to see you again right back here next week. Until then, my name is Sam Chen. On behalf of all of us here at Face the Issues, thank you and good night.